It's Juanita Coley, the founder of Solid Rock Consulting, where we help call centers implement technology, optimize the technology that they currently have in place, and build better workforce management teams. I want to welcome you to Call Center Chronicles. Call Center Chronicles is a place for CEOs, call center professionals, tech leaders, and yes, the customer, looking to have fun yet thought-provoking conversations around how we improve customer experiences and companies' bottom line. We are on a mission to normalize women in tech and workforce management leadership roles, and we believe that that starts with conversation. Welcome to Call Center Chronicles. Hey guys, let me know if you can hear me okay in the comments. Juanita Coley here. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 7. Okay, so last week we said episode 7. We were really on episode 6. Don't judge me, okay? We have a lot going on. So anyway, this week we are in episode, and I need my mic, right? Can you guys hear me better now? My production team is probably like, can we please get it together? Can we please talk in the mic? It's all good. Don't judge me, okay? I'm still working on it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here at Call Center Chronicles. I'm super excited about today's guest. My mind is just super blown by all of the things that he's been able to accomplish. Last week, we talked to Hosanna Haley. She works at Microsoft. She does a lot of different things in technology. So if you missed that episode, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that episode. She talked through some things that were just so mind-blowing and phenomenal. One of the things that really stuck out to me that she said was, she said technology, and I'm paraphrasing. So, okay, don't quote me, because I'm trying not to quote her exactly. But she said that technology is not biased in and of itself. Is more so a reflection of society. And so that is why it's so important that we have diversity in technology, diversity in leadership roles, so that we can have technology and we can have things that mirror the customers that we are serving, so that we can have better customer experiences. And so that has just stuck with me since last week, and I'm sure it will stick with me going on. So that was just so phenomenal. So I'm super excited. As you guys know, one of the missions of Call Center Chronicles is to normalize women in technology, as well as women in leadership roles within the contact center space, in workforce management and leadership. And so we are talking to guests, talking through the technology, talking through the customer experiences, talking through to leaders in the industry about how do we advance and move forward. One of the episodes that really sticks out to me was Ebony Langston's episode. I believe she was episode 2 or 3. Go back and catch the replays. You can always catch them on solidrockco.net/CCC. And she was talking through a study that she had recently read. I believe it was a Mercer study that talked about how it would take women 95 years at the current rate of diversity and inclusion and equity, of how we are prioritizing the initiative, us 95 years to make the type of headway that we're looking to make. And so that was just mind blowing to me as well, because, I know it's something that we talk about a lot right now. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that I feel like all of the companies are talking about, and they all have initiatives. And even with that, it would take 95 years. Listen, I'm just reporting the news, okay? I'm just reporting the news, okay? Don't stone me, okay? Anywho, so I think that having these conversations, again, the point of the show is, having these conversations really allow us to talk more and be able to start to have action around, hey, how do we get women normalized in technology? How do we get women more involved in technology? I stumbled upon technology by working in a call center as an agent, reading, many of you know my story. I was reading a Blue Pumpkin book, which is now Variant, and I took interest in the rest is history, right? I said, hey, I really like this piece of technology. I love what it does for call centers. I love how it takes call centers to that next level. And so that is how I got involved in technologies in the contact center space. And there's not like there was a career path drawn out for it. And so I think the more we get women to know about technology and about the options that they have, whether it be in call centers or whether it be in, a whole different space, right? We was talking to Tara Rutley, and she's a, space engineer for the NASA program. So the point is just to get involved in technology. And my background is obviously specifically in call centers. So that's my point of interest. But I really want us to really start to have more of that dialogue and that conversation. And so today's show, we are talking with Donald Spann. He is the founder of Vicky Virtual. He does a few other things, but I'm super excited to have him on today. I am going to bring him on the screen and he can introduce himself. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Happy to be here.
I'm sorry, I had you muted. Say it again.
Well, nice to meet everyone. Thanks for having me on here, Juanita. I really appreciate it. I think you make a really good point about the importance of technology, as well as the importance of placing emphasis on, encouraging and empowering women to be in positions of empowerment through technology, and in your case, the call center industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll dive right in because I have some questions. All right. I've been waiting on your episode because I'm like, I got questions that need answers. Okay. All right. So first of all, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you come up with the concept of Vicky Virtual? We just going to go right on in.
Okay. Well, how far back do you want me to go? Because I can
far
go to
as
the
you're
ice
comfortable.
ages.
I got time today.
Okay. All right. Well, so my story is I've wanted to, like many others, I've wanted to have my own business for a long time. And I was really looking for different things I could potentially do. I grew up in a situation where, my family was middle class, but I went to a very expensive private school with a lot of very wealthy families from kindergarten all the way through high school. And, our family was on scholarship and all that. But it gave me a inside look into really incredible lifestyles and what can be achieved if you're able to achieve a tremendous amount of financial success. And so when I was going into the sort of college age and going into college, I realized that a traditional job and that typical path would make it very difficult to eventually hit some of the goals that I had. And so in starting different businesses, we won't go through all of that, but I started a lot of things. And one of the companies that I started, which I was really excited to do with my dad, was a cleaning company. And so we had a cleaning company in Chicago, where I'm from. Go Bulls, go Blackhawk, go Cubs.
Get them all
And
in
so,
there.
yeah, get them all in there. And so we had a company. We built it to a certain size, but after the first year, we were in a situation where we needed to have our calls answered. I was sick of answering them myself, and we needed something. So I started to look into different options, to have the calls answered. And during my sort of general research, I eventually went from traditional answering services to the more sort of I guess aptly fitting for us virtual receptionist companies. And so a virtual receptionist company as a call center concept or niche is essentially a premium answering service. It goes above and beyond in terms of the level of service, the quality of the agent, the amount of tasks that that company is willing to perform, as opposed to a traditional answering service. And so in looking at these different options, there were some options, but none of them were really all that impressive to me. And as the entrepreneurial mindset, the longer you do it, the more your gears are always turning. And so I figured maybe I could reverse engineer one of these companies that I'm looking into. And I also realized that as a cleaning company owner that had this very real, very strong need, there must be other people in my industry in the space that would have that same need. And so I partnered with a fellow cleaning business owner. I'm in Chicago, he's in Kansas City, and we put this thing together. And that's how we, you know, started the path of launching Vicky Virtual.
That is absolutely insane. So you were in the cleaning industry and you needed your phones answered. And so you went to start to research, different solutions that would be able, services that would be able to meet the need. Didn't find anything that was quite what you needed. And so you started a company without any background. I just have to hone in on that, right? Without any background on telephony systems or workforce management or quality, any of those components of starting a call center, and you started the service.
Yeah, we didn't know anything. I didn't know anything at all. And, one of the nice things is that I'm not a software engineer, but I do have sort of a technology emphasis in terms of my approach to different companies that I've started over the years. So the first company that worked out, it was actually a software company. I didn't do any coding, but we built that and it got acquired for 7 figures. So we had like sort of experiences in terms of taking different elements, technological elements, putting them together into a company and solving some type of problem. And so even in the cleaning business space, I never did a cleaning, but we did over 20,000 cleaning just through the use of technology, connecting clients with potential cleaners. And so looking into the call center space, the one thing that I sort of realized was that if I can figure out what the pieces are, I can figure out how to get those pieces to come together. So as you can imagine, I made every mistake possible.
So, because I was gonna say, now gonna be my next question. Donald was like, so how did you figure out these pieces? Just by, so what was your process like for starting the call center? Of course, I do call center consulting, so I understand when I'm going into a call center or someone who has an idea about, hey, I want to start a call center. What are some of the things? I have a whole, methodology and this process. And so I'm like, but that has been through my years of working in call centers, working on the technology side. So I'm just so blown away by your ability to put those pieces together, make the mistakes, tweak. So what was your process like? What was that journey like for opening up Vicky Virtual? What were some of the critical mistakes that you made?
Yeah, well, it's going to be sort of a long answer, but um, when I have approached really anything in a business entrepreneurial sense, I try to simplify things down to sort of brass tacks as much as possible, right? And so the first thing that I absolutely knew, the first truth, was that there are businesses out there that need the phone answered, and there are people out there that currently answer phone. And so my only real job is to figure out how to make that happen, right? Uh, and so the first step was, we need some type of call center software. Now, thankfully, we're just starting off with the bare minimum. We pieced together two people it was my co-founder's sister, who had literally graduated high school a semester early. So she was like, I think she turned 18 a couple weeks before she started working for us in January. And then my friend's like semi pseudo retired mom that was 67 years old. So
Wait. So you had someone who was just graduating high school, and then you had a retiree.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a pin in that, Call Center Chronicles. We're going to put a pin in that because that's going to lead to my diversity questions next. So put a pin in that. Go ahead. Continue with your story. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that was definitely the two extremes. And one of the nice things that we learned from that is that, it is possible for people on essentially both ends of the technological spectrum to be able to use this. And so that informed us in terms of really how to sort of get people of different technological backgrounds into using a system that is going to be their sort of tool on a daily basis. How to approach teaching them those things, like, based off of where they're at. And it put us in a position that we had to just sort of jump off a cliff and figure it out. So with two people, we didn't have to think about large problems such as workforce management and getting the metrics correct and all those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
We just had to figure out on making things work. And so the first sort of phone system that we went with was a system called If by Phone. And it was built for marketers and stuff, so not what we were looking for at all. So like 3 months into running the company, we switched over to a different system. And there's an entire, as I'm sure you know, there's like a whole bunch of logistics and stuff that comes with doing that. And learning how to do that is its own skill. And making sure that the clients that we had, making them happy, keeping them happy during the switch was something we had to learn. But I think the real benefit that we had is that all of these things that we were learning were on such a small scale that if we screwed up, it wasn't some monumental disaster. It was just a small scale sort of incubator type problem that once we figured out the answers to those problems and knew the best thing to do, by the time we got a little larger, we had some knowledge.
Wow. So how did you then go from, like, my mind is still blown. Production team, can I please get a mind emoji? Okay. Mind blown emoji. Okay. Anywho, my mind is like, it doesn't take much, but anywho, so how did you go from high school, graduate to and retiree? I think you said she was retired, right? 67
Mm-hmm.
To then now recruiting more and more and more agents to handle volume. And at what point did you understand, okay, I need a different, because you said you started off with the If phone. At what point did you say, okay, this is for marketers, not really what I'm needing? And what was those like transition pieces for you? How did you transition smoothly while still keeping your customer satisfied? That question.
I think, the difference between someone that's a beginner and an expert is the expert knows what questions to ask, right? Because once you get the answer to those questions, you know how to proceed. And so when you're a beginner, you don't know what you don't know. So we didn't know that If by Phone was not a good fit until we started using it. And then we had different clients that had different things come up. And we tried to sort of find as many workarounds as we could within the system we were using and the tool that we had. But it got to the point where there were too many things that we couldn't do. There were too many limitations. And so after using it, though, after getting that experience, we figured out and knew what those limitations were. And so once we were able to, acknowledge what those limitations were, we could then finally look for a system that could, that didn't have those limitations. And that in and of itself is, a sort of organic way to find a system that works better for your business model and what you're doing. And so we switched over to TalkDesk. And, we just kept things simple. We were very transparent with our clients. They knew from the beginning that we were a completely new call center. It helped us that we stayed in our niche at first. We were cleaning business owners that created a call center for other cleaning business owners, sort of as a top priority. And so when we were sort of engaging them and saying, hey, we're going to make this change, they understood that we had a vision. They understood that we were working extremely hard and doing whatever we could to fulfill that vision. And they understood that once we solved the problems we were working on with their feedback, we would create something that would be a better fit for their company than anything else out in the market.
That's just Phenomenal. So how did you, you said that you started with the niche, you were dry cleaning business, basically creating a service for other dry cleaning businesses. At what point did you, was it when you decided, hey, we kind of understand this, we understand the life cycle of, the selling, the marketing, all of those different things that, okay, let's now start to go outside of the niche and offer this service to other businesses?
Yeah. Well, and just to be clear, they were house cleaning companies. So, dry cleaning, that's his own
That's a
sort
whole
of,
different thing. Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
a
Okay.
whole, I don't even want to know how to, but
So you were doing house cleaning. Okay.
yeah, so we had a house cleaning. And so the nice thing about it was from a making our business work correctly and figuring out those issues thing, we had a nice little foundation of clients. We had probably 25 clients in the first few months that were just about all cleaning business owners. But in tandem or simultaneously, we were constantly doing content marketing. And, we were just getting the word out about our company. We were writing blog posts. We went from zero to being, in the black and profitable in 2 months. So we wrote a very long post on that on Reddit. And there was a very popular post, top 10 on the entrepreneur subreddit, which has 800,000 subscribers at the time. And so that brought in a good amount of inbound traffic. And so through that inbound traffic, we started inevitably having businesses in other industries that were, reaching out to us and signing up. And so we didn't even know what industries were the best fit for our service until they started coming to us, and we started serving them and realizing, okay, we're a better fit for this type of company than this other type of company. And so the answer is people started finding us. We were proactive in getting ourselves out there, and we were fortunate to be able to have people to find us and sign up with us.
Wow. Wow. So tell me, how do you feel that when we kind of start to talk about diversity, how do you feel that because you have keep me honest, you have partial hearing loss? Is that what I will call it?
Yeah, yeah. My situation is I was born 10 weeks early, about two and a half months early. And I was like 3 pounds at birth. I was in an
Wow.
incubator for 3 months, had tubes all everywhere. And I really barely made it. And so the one long-term thing that sort of came out of that, though, was that not all of my ear nerve cells survived.
Wow.
And the majority of ear nerve cells that died off were in the high frequency range. And so what that does is, and how that affects someone, is the dictation of speech. So when we're talking to each other, I will hear you at the same volume that you hear me, but from your mouth to my ears, it sort of sounds like you're mumbling. And so the clarity is not the same. And it's, sort of ironic to, my career before having a business was sales and being on the phone, cold calling people left and right. It was sort of ironic, but it also caused me as sort of a baseline to focus a lot more to the person that I'm talking to, whereas other people can get by sort of, half butting it.
Yeah.
And so I think that larger amount of focus maybe made it so that people in general felt more heard when they were talking to me. I'm not quite sure how much my wife would agree with that, but at least when I'm talking to different salespeople or different potential clients, me having to focus so much on what they're saying made me a better fit overall for the career. And I will say too, I'll get back to it. Can't remember.
No, that is amazing. I was going to say amazing because I make up words, but that is amazing, right? That is amazing because as we think about diversity, so diversity, I'm always interested in diversity because diversity is more than just, color or religion diversity is everything that's diverse and different about us coming together so that we can appreciate those different things. And those experiences translate to people from all different types of walks of life, right? And so when I think about, your hearing and how you was able to take that and how you even articulate it back to me, right? So how your perception is that it has made you a better listener. It has made people feel like they're heard when they're speaking to you because you actually have to listen. When you're not listening to respond, you're listening so you can actually listen.
Right.
I'm not listening so I can have an answer back. I'm listening so I can actually understand what you're saying because to me it sounds like you're mumbling. So I actually have to listen with intent, which now feeds over and has even prepared you, even though you were in the home cleaning business, has even prepared you for a call center background without even having any intent of saying, hey, I want to start a call center. You have that background and experience. That is just blowing my mind. I know I'm speaking in broken sentences, but it's because my mind is so blown. Tell me, when you were looking at software and you were looking at, hiring and all of those different things as you were expanding the company, did that have any weight and bearing on, hey, I think I'll go with this piece of technology over this piece of technology because it has something for people with maybe that are visually impaired or hearing impaired or all of those different things? Did that play any role? Did you think of those things?
Honestly, I didn't think that much about it from that perspective. I did think about it in terms of a few things. One, you already know, like we were dealing with our entire company, even when we got up to 100 agents, was everyone worked from home. We've never had a central on-premise setup. And so when you're dealing with cloud-based telephony, vendors and software choices, one of the main things that we're looking for is reliability, right? So if the system itself was reliable and had less glitches, that was already, that put them in the top 25% of vendors. Another consideration we had was, as we learn more about one, how do we serve our clients the way we want to serve them? Two, what is a limitation on what we want to do as a company in general that is scalable? And then figuring out how, technology can help us do that. And three, having less resources at first financially and then having more resources later on. Those were the three main considerations when we were looking for software. And I think those were the main things. We actually, over the course of 5 years, we're on 5 different systems. And now I would say Vicky is probably finally on the one that it should have been on from the beginning.
Wow, that is amazing. Tell me a little bit more about as you begin to kind of expand and you begin to, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. As you begin to expand and you are able to now get more customers and all of those things, you are able to think more about the main difference. Or can you tell me about the main difference between what you did with Vicky Virtual and the virtual answering service versus the BPO? Like what would be the main differences between those two services?
There's not a tremendous amount of difference, I think, between a typical business process outsourcing. I think when it comes to a lot of different call centers and the way their business models work, the typical thing is that, you're starting your company and you try to land a contract, and hopefully it's a sizable contract. And in doing that, let's say a $1 million call center had 10 different clients that pay them $100,000 a year. And so what happens there is that every single client is very important and sort of critical to the entirety of the call center. Whereas in our case, all of our clients were tiny. So our typical client pays us $300 a month. And once we got to around 150 to 200 clients, there wasn't one client in particular that even accounted for 1% of our revenue. And so with that being the case, we could operate in a lot more of a flexible way. We could do things based off of what made sense as a company, what was most streamlinable, what was best in terms of scaling. And then frankly, it's a lot easier for our agents because we didn't have to focus so much on, being perfectly on the metric. We didn't have to micromanage them. And our agent turnover as a result of being in a very stress-free environment, out of the 100 of people that we ended up hiring, we've only had 3 people that ever quit. So I think a lot of that had to do with the business model itself, and a lot of it had to do with just being in the virtual receptionist niche as opposed to the traditional business process outsourcing firm with larger clients.
Wow. Tell me, what do you think the main difference, or what have you seen have been the biggest challenge between, especially with, when you're building Vicky Virtual and you were having the agents talk to the customers and all of those different things? What was the biggest disconnect? Because obviously, you didn't have a call center background or any of those different things like that. So it's not like you were doing quality, or maybe you were. Were you doing quality management and all of those different things?
We were, we started off pretty simply with like some generic call scoring criteria form. And, we did a lot of role playing, and we just sort of like tried to have things make sense, right? I think over the course of your life, you end up on the phone with call center agents for whatever reason, lots of time. And so there's certain etiquette that you start to pick up on in having those conversations with different agents over there. Thank you for calling this company. This is myself. How can I help you today? As you're talking to someone, that agent sort of keeping you engaged, acting like at least appearing to listen to what you're saying. So, if you're a caller that tells them an unfortunate story, hopefully the agent, starts off the reply with some level of empathy. Those types of things were sort of intuitive, and we just sort of pretty quickly understood those things without having to really learn it. And so rather than, going through what we didn't want to like sort of fake engineer what would be a good sort of conversation, what would be a good interaction with a caller. We just wanted to go with what felt natural in terms of, okay, this is quite intuitive and organically reasonable as to what a caller would want to hear if they're talking to us. So we just started with that. We just kept it really simple. And then, when we another thing too, and I'm just now realizing this, like I've never really thought about this before. Some of the earlier agents that we brought on had prior call center experience. And so sometimes they would come in and say, well, this is what we did at my old job. And one of the things that helped us learn as sort of company owners, my former partner and I, was listening to our agents, because they were the ones talking to callers every single day. And they had the pulse on what was going on. And for us to try not to theorize everything and sort of listen to them, taking that feedback and, take the things that made the most sense and sort of build that into the way we ran our company, that was very beneficial for us.
Man, that's
Did that
so.
answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's so insightful. That's so insightful. So one of the things is, you naturally I think Janefa said this as well on one of the prior episodes. She was saying, we have all this technology, especially people who, this is what they do, right? We build call centers, we build IVRs, we build these and so we create all these elaborate things, right? And then we never actually put ourselves in the actual customer seat, right? So one of the things that you just said that was just kind of, she alluded to this as well, is make sure with all of this innovation and all these things that you're doing, make sure that you go and then put yourself in the customer seat, right? Because you have this elaborate IVR, this interactive voice response system, or this ACD, and this routing agents or callers here and there and this, and it's like, just please get me to a person quickly, right? And you never put yourself in the customer seat. And so you're saying some of those things just naturally came as intuitive because you did that. You put yourself in the customer seat of, this is what good quality is. If I was a caller calling in, this is the kind of how I want to be serviced, so forth and so on. And the second thing is a lot of the people that you hired already had call center experience. So they understood already answering phones and what it would be like sitting on a phone call all day long, or, taking calls. It wasn't like you were putting people in roles that they weren't, used to being in already. Right. And so that's kind of how you were able to do that. What do you see with traditional call centers? So you call into call centers, right? You call your bank, you have all these different experiences, I'm sure. Being a former, the founder of Vicky Virtual, do you ever find yourself sitting, and this is just me being nosy now, do you ever find yourself sitting on any of those calls and you're like, oh my God,
Well, I wanted to add on to what you were saying really quickly is one thing that I've learned about technology is that the best technology is the technology that gets out of the way. When you put someone through the experience of feeling like they have to push through barriers in order to get to where they want to get, if there's too much friction, then that's the sign of a bad technological solution. Even if there's an elaborate setup, right, which is going to be the case all the time. Apple, for instance, has extremely elaborate processes and setups and configuration, but the end result is a product with technology that mostly gets out of the way. Whenever you use it, it's intuitive. It just feels natural and it flows. And so that was really our goal and our direction when we were putting things together. We wanted technology only for the purpose of making all of our lives easier, from the owner side operator to the agent to the callers. Now, to your question about calling into different places, I think the unfortunate thing is that there's just so many call centers where the agents are they're living a pretty miserable experience in their job, and some of it is because the management, and some of it is because I think there's just a lot of inaction when it comes to systems that don't make sense. And that's why it's great that people like you exist. I think that if people use technology not to just come up with the most convoluted situation to keep callers away from their agents so that their agent can handle more calls, and the only calls they're handling are people that are pissed off because it took so long to get to them. If you create technology solutions that get out of the way, then that's going to be the best approach.
I love that. Create technology that gets out of the way. And, I say this a lot. I love technology that does the heavy lifting, right? So we've already created a process. We already, have developed our people, but then the systems should be coming in. The technology should come in to now do the heavy lifting, right? So I shouldn't have to be figuring out how to route, callers and all of those different things. I should have technology that can be able to just do that heavy lifting. But I have done the initial work to create a process on, routing and where the calls go and making sure that agents are skilled and trained to be able to handle that particular skill set. So I love that what you said about, having technology that just kind of gets out of the way and allow you to really be able to the customer to be able to get to who they need to get to, even if that is, a self-serve. A lot of customers nowadays, they do want self-serve. And so I think that's where technology really allows us to be able to, in these call centers, be able to really handle a lot more customers, and then allow the agent, the actual person, to be able to handle some of those more complex situations that a virtual system may not be able to actually handle. So I think that's amazing. So tell me about, man, and we're already at 45 minutes. Man, this is crazy. So tell me, it's such a good conversation. So tell me now, I know that you have, what are you doing now? Tell me now, because I know you aren't, you've moved on from Vicky Virtual. Tell me what you're doing now, how your experiences now are helping call centers or people that are interested in call centers. Tell me about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so uh, Vicky Virtual was I've been saying this word a lot. It was a game changer in terms of my life. I was able to create a company that pretty much every single client we ever served, we were providing a real value, and it was like a utility service for them. And so we were able to create something awesome, and we got acquired in October 2019. And so, at first I was thinking to myself, like, whenever you're trying to, change your life and have an entrepreneurial success, it's like, oh man, what am I going to retire to? But about a month or two before I sold the company, and I didn't know that I was going to sell it. It came from an unsolicited offer. I I went from you know how it is. I went from thinking I was going to be running the company for another 15, 20 years or so and handing it down to kids that aren't born yet, to selling the company in the span of a month. So it was a really sort of quick turnaround. But I guess the point is that I was reflecting around that time around how Vicky Virtual had been a really simple concept, something that not a lot of people talk about or think about or work on. But it had such a drastic impact, and I realized the industry was very sizable and had room for a lot of other companies. And so I thought to myself, I've been seeing all these people like pushing different businesses. Uh, is there anything out there that talks about how to start a virtual receptionist company? And I did a quick look, and I literally couldn't find anything at all. So I figured, why not just create something? So, it's a little bit of a passion project, honestly. It's been over a year, and I still haven't been running ads or anything. I created a course on how to start a company very similar to Vicky Virtual. And so it's called Call Center Craft. And so I launched that sort of course in January of last year, 2020. And, we've gotten great feedback. I think it helped that there aren't any other courses on this. So rather than saying, oh, well, let me look at this person's course and see how good it is and see how I can make mine better, I didn't have anything to go off of. Just like when I started the call center, I had nothing to go off of.
Yeah.
So that meant I just went for it. I didn't leave anything out. And so we got some very good feedback, and now we've had a bit over 100 students and around, I think it's 27 that have launched their own call center so far as a result. And it's been a great experience. It's been a situation where, you're seeing people in some cases that had full-time jobs that are now, full-time entrepreneurs and changing their lives. Really cool.
And that is, so I belong to this group. That's insane. I belong to this group that shall remain nameless. I was just talking about this on last week, but so I belong to this Facebook group that shall remain nameless. And what I think is interesting about the group is it is a group for call center agents, and it's really more a group to vent in, right? So if you're a call center agent, you can vent in the group and whatever. What I love about what you do is you are teaching people how to, hey, you can do exactly what I did. These are kind of the steps to doing it. And so I think that is so interesting, because on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have groups that are dedicated to just venting about the situation. So I love how you have created a space for people who want to understand how they can start their own virtual receptionist company. And in many cases, they're transitioning from what they were doing as whether they were a call center rep or not, whether they were in a completely different, industry, into running a call center. That is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, if you have call center experience, you're in a beneficial situation, because you understand why businesses need this and want this, and you understand the importance of a customer interaction. Like, you just understand those things, whereas a lot of people don't until they start personally dealing with it. And I'm actually in a different, I'm not sure if it's the same one, but I'm in a group where there's a bunch of call center agents that vent, and it's really sad what a lot of people are dealing with. It's really sad.
Yeah.
So I
because they feel stuck. And I think the reason I even joined the group was because I wanted to understand from an agent, again, with Call Center Chronicles, it's for everybody. It's for technology leaders. It's for leadership in the call center. It's for agents. It's for customers. I want to be able to understand the whole spectrum of customer experience in call center life, right? And so I wanted to understand from agents' perspective the things that frustrated them, and what are some of the things that they're voicing their concerns about. So that's why I joined the group. But I see in the group, some people, sometimes they can feel stuck. And so I think it's just amazing what you've done with even Call Center Cash, of how you are showing people, hey, you can start a call center, you can create opportunities, and, you could do all of these amazing things. So I think that is just phenomenal. Man, go ahead.
And the big thing, last thing, is as I was doing this, I realized that there are a few things out there that have you start a business, but they're like a franchise, or like you're working for some other thing. It's like a 1099. This isn't that. This is you starting your own company that I'm not affiliated with. That's real power.
Right.
That's what we're looking for. And especially, not to get too much in it, but from a minority perspective, whatever I can do to get more minorities involved, and for the entrepreneurship community of people that actually have successful businesses and, full-time lifestyle, there needs to be more of us. So, that's a big why as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. What you're doing is amazing. And it is actually helping to push that initiative forward as far as diversity, right? We have to have people from all walks of life, and that's represented in not only our technology, but in the interactions and the experiences that we're interacting with, and the people we're interacting with daily. Like the example, I always think about that Discover commercial. Not sure if you saw it. I got to play it one day on Call Center Chronicles. It's a Discover commercial where the caller is calling in and they get someone in the call center that kind of matches their energy. So it's like an older lady that's calling in on her card, and then she gets somebody who's older, and she's like, yeah, girl, I know that. So she matches her energy. And it's like, that's true diversity, right? Is when I can call in and the person who's on the other end of that line understands why I even care about my healthcare ending, or why I care about whatever the concerns are. Again, even with you, with the, being hearing impaired or having a hearing impairment, why you're listening so intently, and why you're able to pick up on flexion and what someone might be truly meaning, all of those different things. That's what diversity, and why it's so important that we have people that are super diverse, in, dealing with the technology, dealing with the customers, in the whole life cycle of that goes into call centers.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So we're down to the bottom. We got to have you back on, Donald. We got to have you back on for sure, because I got questions I didn't even get to. But
Okay.
leave us with a word or a phrase of wisdom. If you had to leave us with the nugget, what would that nugget be?
The main nugget is that whatever it is you're trying to do, getting started is going to be easier than you can imagine. Uh, some things in terms of your journey are going to be harder, but once you get started, the most important hurdle has been jumped. And so, pretty much anybody that's successful will tell you this: just get started. Um, what seems hopeless, you will realize it's not.
Wow. Get started. The journey might be hard, but getting started is the easiest part. I've never heard that. That is awesome. And it's when you think about it, I'm gonna let you leave with that. Because I don't even want to expound on it. But that's a really awesome nugget. Thank you so much. Hang out with me in the green room. I'm gonna wrap the show up and then I'll be over there with you. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in with us. This was an absolutely fabulous show. I have so many more questions and my brain is just sparking. Hopefully, if you caught this episode live, then you appreciated it. You caught some of the comments in the chat. And if you're catching it on replay, definitely come back and see us again. Our next guest coming up next week is none other than Cameron Farrar of Kaizen 724. I'm sure I'm jacking that up, but don't judge me, okay? He'll be here next week to correct me on episode 8. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.